The House Ways and Means Committee, as we previously reported, got their hands on Trump's tax returns and now voted to release those tax returns to the public. This has been a long time coming, and finally we're going to get to see what Trump has been hiding. We have some of that right now. The actual tax returns won't be released until the committee can go through and redact any parts that are sensitive, but they've released a report about the tax returns. So I'll show you guys a few different reports on this that are just incredible about what we're already finding from the report that the House Ways and Means Committee released about the tax returns. And it kind of falls into two big categories. The first is that the reason the House Ways and Means Committee even had an interest in these tax returns is because they were trying to investigate and understand the auditing process of presidents. So the IRS is supposed to have a certain process they go through in auditing presidents every single year. And as was found out by this report that was released by the House Ways and Means Committee, that did not happen with Trump, except for a year in there, but they were supposed to be doing it every single year, and they just very much mismanaged the auditing process of Trump's tax returns, which is supposed to happen again on a yearly basis. And then the second bucket of interesting information in regard to this has to do with the fact that Trump, as we expected, is not as rich as he purports to be, as well as does not pay nearly as much taxes as we would hope. So first thing that's being revealed through this is he was saying, I've been under audit by the IRS, I've been under audit. That was Trump's excuse for not releasing these tax returns, as every other president or presidential candidate, that was kind of the tradition of it. At least presidents that were in the general election would go ahead or presidential candidates and release their tax returns voluntarily just to be transparent. For the last number of decades, that was the tradition, and Trump didn't do that because he said he was under audit. Well, that has been revealed to not be the case at all.
Donald Trump was the first elected president since Richard Nixon not to voluntarily release his tax returns. Now Congress, after a years-long court battle, is about to do it for him. In a late-night vote, congressional Democrats took a step Donald Trump fought long and hard to prevent.
Mr. Chairman, on this vote, I have 24 yeas, 16 noes.
They voted to publicly release 6 years of the former president's tax returns in the coming days.
This is about the presidency, not about a president.
The returns to be released are from 2015 to 2020. The committee will first take time to redact sensitive information. But committee chair Congressman Richard Neal revealed late Tuesday that Donald Trump's returns were not under audit during his presidency. Donald Trump was the first elected.
So his key claim that I can't release them because I'm under audit was not accurate. Can you imagine Trump lying? Oh my goodness. Shocking. And then second report on this that I found interesting and that starts walking through some of the information that was revealed.
His records shielded from the same scrutiny that every president has faced since the 1970s, House Democrats have voted to publicly release former President Donald Trump's tax returns. Members of the House Ways and Means Committee cast their votes along party lines last night following a 4-hour closed-door hearing on the matter. Although the full documents are not expected to be released for several days, the committee is already out with a 39-page summary of its findings. And here are some of the key takeaways. In 4 of the 6 years reviewed, Trump reported a negative income to the IRS. His income was in the green in 2018 after his first full year as president, and again in 2019 before falling back into the red in 2020. In 3 of the 6 years reviewed, Trump paid $750 or less in federal income taxes. That includes 2020, where he paid $0. The committee.
So I think of that information, obviously with tax returns, and this is just a report on the tax returns, you can't understand or derive full and complete meaning about an individual's financial situation. But this little screen grab kind of does show you that at least now we know that he was reporting negative incomes in 4 of the 6 years that they've obtained. And for someone who purports to be as wealthy as he is, paid very little in income taxes, especially 2016, 2017, 2020. In 2020, $0 in federal income taxes, and the other 2 that I mentioned, just $750. That does highlight, beyond Trump, just the flaws in our tax system where you can really be quite wealthy, but through all of the different ways that you can write off money and go through loopholes and all these different ways, you can make it look like you don't actually have that much money for the purposes of taxes and thus not pay that much in taxes, which is unfortunate, and a lot of money is left outstanding that really, in a world that made more sense, we would be able to get our hands on and spend on good programs and such. Then later in this report, MSNBC brought on one of the individuals of the House Ways and Means Committee and asked him about this.
Congressman Don Beyer of Virginia. Congressman, thank you very much for being on the show this morning. Have you had a chance to look at the full spate of Donald Trump's tax returns?
Yes, I spent a couple of hours on Monday in the Capitol, or actually in Rayburn, just going through them page by page by page. Your summary was excellent. As a long-term business person, I was just amazed that you could report $100 million in income and have a tax under $1,000.
And so, yeah, that's one of many wonderful nuggets that have come out of this. But my question to you is, when you look at the full tax returns, what interested you the most, and was there any sources of income that seemed inappropriate in any way?
Well, the first thing is, as you know, this was all about checking the audit procedure. So the notion that they didn't audit, they audited one of 6 returns, and that only when the day they received Chairman Richie Neal's letter. That was very upsetting. They put one IRS agent on this. So very dramatically understaffed. No way they could actually go through it carefully. And what jumped out at me is almost $300 million worth of unsubstantiated deductions. That's how you get to paying no taxes, when you can say, you know, I gave $71 million here and $27 million there, but there was no documentation that supported any of it.
So just a huge failure on the part of the IRS in this situation, where they weren't doing the work they're supposed to do with presidents and audit, make sure everything's on the up and up. And a lot of the write-offs that he would put for charitable donations, he didn't provide any documentation for those, and the IRS didn't question them, and they just kind of took his word on it, which is very strange. And it's part of the reason that I like Biden's move with the Inflation Reduction Act to hire more IRS agents, fund the IRS more, because we do have to be able to go through with a fine-tooth comb these very wealthy individuals that do have a more complicated situation to be dealt with. And that's what, when the IRS was pressed on this, that's kind of what their reason was for not properly doing this process with Trump, was, sorry, we just didn't have the resources to go through and do it in the way that we should have. So that's the reason, again, I say the House Ways and Means Committee had an interest in this. And as I was sort of getting into before, it was the case that presidents had their tax returns revealed to the public. Oftentimes, candidates would do it ahead of time just to be transparent. And Trump didn't do that. Then he became president, didn't do it. And the IRS was failing to, even from the government's perspective, do their part in making sure everything was good there. So very interesting stuff. As this further gets reported on and his actual tax returns are revealed, we will continue to discuss it. Very fascinating. Let me know what you think. Luke P. Beasley on Twitter. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to be a part of what makes this show possible, plus get access to the full video version of the show hours before any of the clips are uploaded to YouTube, plus get a full extra show every single Saturday, you can do so by going to patreon.com/Luke Beasley. That's patreon.com/Luke Beasley, and there's a link in the description.